Earlier today, the Family Research Council hosted a lunch, and our focus was on China and how they are sanctioning those who speak out about religious freedom. I was obviously one of those, along with Ambassador Brownback. We had Senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas, and we had Josh Hawley, senator from Missouri. But we're also talking about those who have been working in the country that have been targeted. And one of our guests this afternoon at lunch was Grace Gao. Grace's father, who is a Christian. He is a human rights attorney. And he took on cases that other lawyers shied away from. He defended, non-Christians. And as I've talked about here in this program before, I think we need to advocate for religious freedom for all people. And this is exactly what he did for Falun Gong practitioners, house church leaders who are Christians, but others. And for this work, he became a target of the Chinese government. And Grace has not heard from her father for 4 years. He went to prison on multiple occasions. But the last time they've not heard from him in 4 years. And Grace has become a courageous, vocal advocate, not only for her father, but for others who are being silenced and imprisoned in China. And she joins us now. Grace, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Tony.
Grace, share with our listeners the story of your father and what you shared earlier today, and what transpired, and why you are now speaking out all across this country.
Right. I think, Tony, you just had a really good sum up introduction of what my dad do. So yeah, I would say my dad is a human rights lawyer. He would take on cases that no one is willing to do it. I think we had this talk before. I asked him why, and then the answer he gave it to me was he wasn't a born believer of Christian. He discovered Christianity throughout his work of defending others. So he saw the torture, and he's experienced many tortures of himself because he's been prisoned up for 10 years. And then he always say through those tortures, it's what drawn him closer to his faith and to Christianity. So I would say we're all sister brothers. We will keep one another, always have hope.
So Grace, is that what has given your family courage, that your father, he was committed to something bigger than himself, and it's cost you and your family tremendously?
Right.
You shared about how the police came in when your father was detained, and they actually were living in your house.
Yes. So when I was 13 years old, 8 police, they were leaving our 2B apartment, and then they do not allow us to go out, which my young brother was only 4 years old at the time. He was crying day and night. I remember my mom was knee down, crying as well, begging for them to get her some formula milk. And this kind of life we had for many months. They would feed us their leftovers. And sometimes if we don't obey, they would not give us their leftovers.
So you were essentially prisoners in your own home.
Yes, for many, many months. And then after that, when my dad is back from the detention center, they finally allow us to go out. They finally allow me to go to school. And I remember the situation wouldn't change for me. 8, 7 police officers, they escort me to school. They have a minivan for me. They took the girls' bathroom door, and then they even took the individual door, so that when I'm using the bathroom, 3 or 4 of them would line up, and then another 3 or 4 of them would wait at the exit of the toilet.
I mean, how did they do? I mean, you were not the only family that's experienced this.
I don't think so. I think there are many families experiencing the same thing.
Your last conversation with your father
was 4 years ago. It's funny. No matter how many times we talk, I always ask him, when are you ready to come home, be a dad? He would always give me excuses. And for the last time, he really kind of showed me what God has showed him, a dream. It says there is a little girl who would borrow his only weapon, a pen, and then when when the sun is rising, she would return the pen, and then it would be a different China would be different, or the whole world would be different. That's something that my dad showed me, and then basically the next day, he went disappearing.
Grace, we're up against a break, but I want to ask you another question. So if you can just kind of sit tight, because I think the courage that you display and the conviction you have, not only speaking out for your father, but for others, frankly, should challenge every American to be bold, every Christian American to be bold in our faith, because
Yes.
I want to talk to you about that, because what we do here has implications for what people in China and elsewhere experience. Earlier today at lunch, we hosted a session on China and how they are targeting those who speak out for religious freedom, sanctioning U.S. officials, as well as targeting those in their own country who advocate for others. And Grace Gao is here with me. We were talking about Grace's father, who was a human rights attorney speaking out for others. He has been imprisoned. She's not heard from him for 4 years. She has now been advocating for him and others, speaking before the United Nations Human Rights Council, the Oslo Freedom Forum, and speaking out here in the United States. So Grace, I want to ask you this. You know, you saw what they did to your father, 10
Right.
years in prison, and you've not seen him. He's
4 years missing.
Yeah, he's disappeared. You don't
Right.
know where he is. So why are you speaking out, knowing that the Communist Party of China they're evil?
Right.
They're evil, and even harassing people here in the United States of America. So why do you speak out?
First, I think telling what happened in China to American people, it's really important, because I believe there's no other country like America can challenge China in a way that to end this crime. So, and every time when I close my eye, I feel like tens of thousands of family just like mine, they're experiencing the same thing. Their babies don't have milk, their kid cannot go to school, their life is basically screwed. I don't. It hurts me. It hurts my dad. I believe it hurts me, and I think it's important for people to know.
So final question for you, Grace. What should, and I'm speaking primarily to Christians in America, what should Christians here in America do? And does it matter what they do to people like in China? Does it, if what we do here, does it have an effect upon their lives in China?
I would say yes, and hugely. I remember I had a talk with my dad, and he had worried that nobody believed, nobody, like, people forget about him, and is people are still praying for him. And he said he has met a lot of sisters and brothers in the jail, in the black jail. They've been tortured badly, and then their family hasn't been visiting them quite often, and it's like a source of strength to keep them going, to know that they're not forgotten, and people outside are praying for them. They actually cared, and each prayer counts, each action counts, each speak up, everything counts.
Well, Grace, let me say you're a courageous young lady, and so grateful for you being here and being a part of this International Religious Freedom Summit, and for
you.
advocating not only for your father, but for others.